The woman recognized at a glance that the prisoner locked inside the prison cart was actually the great general of the current dynasty. So she immediately sold the only big black pig her family owned, took the money, and ran to the guards, saying she wanted to buy the prisoner. "What do you want to buy him for?" the guard asked. "To be my husband," she replied. "You want him to be your husband?" "Yes, I want to have a son." The guard looked her up and down at her round figure and remembered that the emperor had specifically ordered that this general be publicly humiliated. He grinned and quickly agreed to the deal for 2 taels of silver. In a mocking tone, he even told her to take the man home and make him do chores. But when the woman stepped closer, she realized that the man's legs could not move. She clicked her tongue in frustration and quietly muttered that cheap things always come with problems. Seeing how thin he looked, she doubted he could even help her have a child. Still, she thought he could at least act as a father figure in the household. Using all her strength, she carried the man back to her simple home. What the guards never expected was that this plump woman was actually repaying a life-saving favor. 9 years earlier, enemy cavalry had rushed into the city, causing chaos everywhere. While the woman was fleeing, soldiers caught up with her, and she was about to lose her life. At that critical moment, this very general rode in on a white horse, rushed forward with his spear, drove the attackers away, and saved her from danger. Now that she saw her savior in trouble, she did not hesitate to spend everything she had to repay that kindness. As soon as she brought the man home, the woman loudly called the 3 girls she had adopted and told them she had bought a father for them. The eldest and second daughters were upset when they heard that the money from selling the pig had been spent. The new clothes they had been hoping for were now impossible, and they refused to accept this unfamiliar man as their father. Only the youngest daughter was happy and immediately ran over to him. "Mom said Dad went somewhere far away. I thought he was gone forever. So Dad is still alive." The man felt extremely awkward. Somehow he had not only become the husband of a widow but also the father of 3 daughters. The next day, the woman carried the man into the courtyard to let him sit in the sun. Suddenly, their neighbor, Madame Zhao, rushed in angrily. Years earlier, the 2 families had arranged a marriage. Madame Zhao's son was supposed to marry into their family. But Madame Zhao had secretly hoped that once this family had no heir, their house would eventually belong to her family. Now that she heard the woman had brought a man home, it was obvious she planned to have a son to inherit the property. Furious, Madame Zhao came to confront them. The woman originally wanted to keep things peaceful for her eldest daughter and carefully said that whether she had a son or not, the house would still belong to the eldest daughter. But the eldest daughter immediately lost her temper, pointed at Madame Zhao, scolded her for being disrespectful, and broke off the engagement with her son on the spot. The second daughter was even more fierce. She grabbed a kitchen knife and chased Madame Zhao right out of the yard. Watching from the side, the man was completely stunned. He had never expected this family to be so strong-willed, but Madame Zhao refused to let it go. She immediately went to the village chief to complain, accusing the woman of secretly adding another person to her household. That very night, the village chief came to their door. It turned out Madame Zhao had gone all the way to the county office to cause trouble, and now the authorities required the woman to pay an additional 500 coins as a head tax for the extra person. The woman humbly pleaded and spoke politely for a long time before the village chief finally agreed to give her 3 days to gather the money. But where could she possibly find that much money? She was extremely worried. The man felt guilty and said he had only brought trouble to their home. With red eyes, the woman then spoke about her past. Years ago, her husband had joined the army, but not long after, news came that he had died in battle. From that moment on, people in the village often bullied her and her daughters. She was so heartbroken that she started overeating and gained dozens of pounds. Later she realized that if girls were not strong and tough, they simply could not survive. Hearing this made the man's eyes turn red with emotion. "Lu Qinyang, after meeting you, I realize there are people like you in this world, optimistic, resilient, and shining so brightly. It's hard not to admire someone like you. Being brought home by you is actually my good fortune." Early the next morning, the woman went to town to look for work so she could earn enough money, but everywhere she went she was turned away. With the tax deadline approaching, she walked home feeling discouraged. But as soon as she entered the yard, she saw the village chief sitting there. Her heart immediately tightened, thinking he had come to demand the money. Unexpectedly, the village chief greeted her with a big smile and said that the husband she believed had died in battle was actually still alive. Not only that he had become an important official in the capital and would return next month to honor his ancestors. The woman stood there in shock, thinking she had heard wrong. The village chief repeated it again loudly, saying her husband husband was now working as an officer in the Ministry of Justice. The mother and her 3 daughters looked at each other in disbelief, but the woman quickly came back to her senses. The most urgent matter right now was still gathering the head tax for the man. "Tomorrow I'll go hunting in the mountains," she said. "I'll try to catch more game. Any extra money we save can be kept for when your father returns." One of the daughters immediately said, "Mom, if Dad is coming back soon,